And Bill, you want to bring it into focus? Or is it doing that on its own? Okay. You were just looking at the production assistant, so now I'm here. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome. Um, I look forward to our conversation tonight. I in many ways, um, feel like it's going to be more raw and open, vulnerable in a sense, because I think what we're looking at, generally speaking, is that yes, we keep hearing there is no separation. That's a fundamental principle, right? It's unity. And we are currently experiencing life from a place that often involves great difficulty, challenges, loss, upheavals, cataclysm, sadness, death, sickness, right? So um, I think that when we talk about there's no separation, we oftentimes want to feel just the bliss and the joy of that. And that's important and it's necessary. But at the same time, I think there's this teaching on compassion. And compassion doesn't allow for the uh, sort of removal of oneself from the life of others, but a complete immersion within the life of others because it's your life. And I've been kind of getting that in spades lately. And Lisa's been very helpful in kind of pointing out and coaching and encouraging this recognition that we're all going through what I've been feeling very personally lately. It's been very, very challenging. Things that seem to have been in place are falling away, and there's a lot of insecurity coming up, survival feelings, things of that nature, feeling that I'm not doing it right, kind of a thing. And so I've been struggling and wrestling with these challenges. And so I want to weave a message in that relates to this fact that our unity also involves feeling the challenges that we all feel and knowing that, and then having compassion as um, an effect of knowing that. So there's a story I wanted to begin with. It's in the Pali tradition of Theravada Buddhism, and it's a story of the Buddha, and it's about this woman, Kasi Gotami. And Kasi is completely destroyed because she just experienced the death of her little son, her only son. And she takes the body of her son to the Buddha, thinking that the Buddha can do something for my son. And when she brings the son to the Buddha, she says, "Can you bring him back for me?" And he says, "Yes, I can. Just go and get me one mustard seed from someone who's never experienced the death of a loved one." And so Kasi's encouraged, and she sets out on her mission to go get this one mustard seed. And she fervently and feverishly is knocking on the doors of the townspeople, asking for this mustard seed. And everybody's responding with the loss of a relative, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a child, the loss of a loved one. And after doing this exhaustive search for that mustard seed, she comes back with the realization of what the Buddha wanted to teach her. And that is, this is ubiquitous. We are all experiencing this. We all know what it's like. And in that moment of realization, Kasi had that seed of compassion awaken in her. And it's what we've been talking about lately, this movement from the lower three chakras to the heart chakra, and that's really the beginning of spiritual realization or spiritual experience, this opening of the heart. And it's this opening of the heart that allows us to see, let's say that on the surface level, we're all these individuals. And so the first three levels of the chakra system are these ways of seeing life fragmentedly, separately. Everyone is different, everyone is unique. But when the heart opens, it's like this veil drops away. And you begin to realize there's an interconnectedness and a unity that binds all of the individuals that once seemed so veiled and separate and fragmented. And that's why suffering can actually be the gateway, as it was for Kasi Gotami. That when we realize that everyone is experiencing this, we have a very different approach to realizing now, instead of meeting others with criticism and judgment and hatred and seeing their shortcomings and being so cynical, there's an alchemy that can take place within the heart that wants to awaken. And that's what we're going to draw out today. This different approach that actually brings peace to the woundedness that we all feel, because we all believe and feel and see this separation and our own personal suffering. And like I had said, the past several days have really been stewing in this. It's been a pressure cooker. It's been horrendously difficult for me. And all of this old fear kept coming up. And I've been feeling like, what's going to get me out of this? I don't want these spiritual teachings. I don't want anything. Nothing works. I was just having a full-blown existential crisis. And you got to go through those seasons too. You got to feel this deep hatred, this deep anxiety, the sense of it's never going to get better. Everything I've tried doesn't work. What's wrong with me? Right? This is what we all feel on one level or another, in one way or another, at a certain time in our life or another. And when we come to realize this shared experience, then there is compassion, a suffering with. That's what the word means. It's a moving into the felt experience of all life because your heart opens. It's no longer just about you. It's about us. The us is you, and you are us. That's the beauty of the awakening. You realize you're not alone. And everything you're feeling, everybody else is feeling, the good and the bad, the sorrow and the joy. But in order to reach a place where there's medicine, that didn't come until like 3 o'clock for me today. And, this is the beauty of having stewed in these teachings for so long. It's like, although there might be suffering and trials, the sun is going to rise. You know that there's going to be a point that you're going to feel that fresh wind blow in, and you're going to feel that comforting presence of spirit moving in that sorrow space. And the burden will lighten. But there are times like I felt today and for a while, like I said, where you don't want that. You want to kind of stew in it. You kind of want to sit in the pain and the sorrow and the self-pity. And so that's a process too, and to accept that. But then what began to allow this to lift was, again, Lisa's words and then the lessons that unfolded as a result of that, the sense of sharing suffering with all of us, right? So let's see, where do we want to go first? This is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And one of the things I kind of have as a minor note in our conversation and meditation this evening is that with this suffering and compassion that results, one of the main elements, at least for me, that has prevented it, this feeling that other people are going through this, is my own sense of judging others. Like, I'm really good at it. I'm really good at seeing other people's faults. And I know it's wrong, and I know better, And I have all the teachings to say, oh, that's, what you're doing is this and that. And I'm very good at, getting down to the causes and the reasons. But that aside, I can still see it, and I still find other people wrong and doing wrong things. And that's why this world looks the way it does. And I don't have any compassion for the people that I'm judging. In fact, they're wrecking it for the people that I love, or the people that are honest and good and just want a good life and don't want trouble and don't harm others. But there are those that harm others, and I hate them. And that hate shuts me down to where God has put the love in my heart. And that's the trouble that I'm having, that my judgments are oftentimes far more valuable and far more important to me than the peace and the inner sense of comfort that God's love can bring me. I'm rejecting that love because I'm judging and I'm right. And I do think that other people should agree with me. And when, like my number one is Lisa. And I'll be like, you got to watch this video. You got to see what's going on in the world right now. You won't believe this, what they're doing to innocents. And, she'll see it. And then she'll also, have me reflect oftentimes and say, you're not giving, you're giving them your hate. And so this is why I have to recognize, and maybe it's something that you see in yourself, that wherever I'm seeing hate, that's my hate. And again, you may have heard this a million times like I have. But what makes the difference is when you reach this place of existential crisis and you go through the pain and the agony of realizing there's got to be another way. I can't keep pretending. And just speaking words, spiritual words, doesn't do it. There's got to be something more real, more tangible, more powerful that's going to actually make the difference in my life and others' lives. How can I find that? Give up judging. First step. We're going to be looking tonight at the mystical tradition in Christianity. And one of the things that will be pointed out in these teachings is really the biggest barrier to entry, as we're saying, is when we are two-faced, right? That's the Greek word hypocrite. And the two-face is, I can get up here on a Saturday night and I can talk about love and compassion and enlightenment and all of these esoteric traditions, and then I'll get in the car and not long after that, I'll put on my YouTube feed and I'll begin to stew in hate thoughts, right? I don't do, I'm a mixed bag is my point. We're all a mixed bag. And the hypocrisy is, I've been trying to present up here just one side of this mixture. The good guy, the smart guy, the spiritual guy, the guy who knows and the guy who wants to help others. And he's real. But there's the mixed bag, the darker side, the one that wants to hate others, the one that finds fault and is cynical and pessimistic and sad and morose and doesn't feel like he's ever going to be happy, really, really happy, loves his partner, loves his students and the people that go to his classes, but there's still something off. There's still something missing. And he's pissed because he can't find it. So this is us, my friends. We're all a mixed bag. And the real truth of these spiritual teachings is when we can at first admit that to ourselves. And it could take decades. And then we see, as I'm seeing, that oftentimes this barrier to entry is this hypocrisy. That I'm making other people wrong because I don't want to face my shortcomings. I don't want to look at them. I want to be spiritual. I want to be bright. I want to be loving. I want to be compassionate. So I can't be that. And this is the shadow. The shadow has to come in. And when we're repressing it and avoiding it and denying that's us, we project it. And so it's Trump, it's the state of Israel, it's Epstein, it's all of this crap that we're seeing in the world. But the reason why I'm being pulled into it and triggered and hatred is flowing out of me is because I'm using that to project my shadow. And if I keep repressing that shadow, it eventually blows back. This is what Carl Jung, clearly understood in his psychology, that your shadow comes looking for you, not to hurt you, but to basically have you face your denials. And that's what hit me. My experience has been, my services have dwindled since COVID. My classes never seem to really get off the ground. And I feel like nothing's working. And then the church can't keep doing what it's doing and paying me what it was paying me. And everything became a whirlwind. Because overnight, the church, the classes, they all started to crumble. And I'm faced with survival fear in an economy that looks like a wasteland. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not succeeding? Why are not more people coming? What am I not seeing in myself? It's my shadow. Trying to be perfect. Trying to do it right. Then people will like me. But if we put our reliance on opinions and how people accept us or if they agree with us, we're always on shaky ground. We're never going to feel safe. It's not permanent. It can go and so this falling out of my financial security and the eruption of all of this crap had me face my shadow. And honestly, it's worth $1 billion. Because it's allowing me to stop and really check myself and examine myself and see why things look the way they do. If what I teach is true and the world is an outpicturing of an inner condition and the world is simply reflecting back to me the joy that I gave it, I'm not joyful. I'm not at peace. I've been pretending. And the pretender judges. The saint or the illuminated one recognizes where all the problems are and goes to work where they are, not out there, right in the heart. That's where it goes, and that's where it heals, and that's where his light manifests. So a little bit from Khalil Gibran. Then one of the judges of the city stood forth and said, "Speak to us of crime and punishment." And he answered, saying, "It is when your spirit goes wandering upon the wind, that you, alone and unguarded, commit a wrong unto others, and therefore unto yourself. And for that wrong committed, must you knock and wait a while, unheeded, at the gate of the blessed. Like the ocean is your God self. It remains forever undefiled." He's speaking to all of us. That's our spirit. That's our true identity. Our God self, forever pure. And like the ether, it lifts but the winged. Even like the sun is your God self. It knows not the ways of the mole, nor seeks it the holes of the serpent. But your God self dwells not alone in your being. Much in you is still human, and much in you is not yet human. Not yet human, but a shapeless pygmy, that walks asleep in the mist, searching for its own awakening. And of the human in you would I now speak, for it is he and not your God self, nor the pygmy in the mist that knows crime and the punishment of crime. Oftentimes I heard you speak of one who commits a wrong, he's saying to the judges, as though he were not one of you, but a stranger unto you, and an intruder upon your world. But I say that even as the holy and the righteous cannot rise beyond the highest which is in each one of you, so the wicked and the weak cannot fall lower than the lowest which is in you also. And as a single leaf turns not yellow, but with the silent knowledge of the whole tree, so the wrongdoer cannot do wrong without the hidden will of you all. Like a procession you walk together towards your God self. You are the way and the wayfarers, and when one of you falls down, he falls for those behind him, a caution against the stumbling stone. And he falls for those ahead of him, who, though faster and surer of foot, yet removed not the stumbling stone. And this also, though the word lie heavy upon your hearts, the murdered is not unaccountable for his own murder. Did you hear this now? The murdered is not unaccountable for his own murder. And the robbed is not blameless in being robbed. The righteous is not innocent of the deeds of the wicked. And the white-handed is not clean in the doings of the felon. Yea, the guilty is oftentimes the victim of the injured. And still more often, the condemned is the burden bearer for the guiltless and unblamed. You cannot separate the just from the unjust and the good from the wicked, for they stand together before the face of the sun, even as the black thread and the white are woven together. So we're getting back to this realization. Good, bad, pretty, ugly, evil, just. No. One. Us. It's all us. This is the awakening of the heart, of compassion. There are no separate selves. There are no separate people. It's a real hard lesson to get, oftentimes, because we are so entrenched in our judgment and in such denial of our shadows. Yeah? Am I speaking to myself? And so we have this recognition, as Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, pray for your enemies. Right? Why? Because your Father brings his sun and shines it on the just and the unjust. He sends his rain on the just and the unjust. For the human or the pygmy, this is nonsensical. But for the God self, it's reality. And if we want to wake up to the God self, we come to realize that we have to recognize this oneness. And that means withdrawing our judgments. Because as he's saying, we're actually looking at ourselves in the other and condemning it, right? There's that beautiful statement in the Bible, there is now no condemnation for those who are in the Christ mind. They're no longer condemning because they recognize the shared suffering. And here's the thing too, and I've always wrestled with this, and so this is just in the moment that I'm kind of getting it. It's like, if you were put in the place of the worst villain, you grew up as that person, you would probably do something similar, is what you often hear. You just didn't grow up like that person. You didn't have those experiences like that person. But it doesn't mean that within you does not lie the same potential for evil and, crime. So we have to recognize this sharedness of our being, and that will temper the way that we judge and condemn. And then finally here he says, if any of you would bring to judgment the unfaithful wife, let him also weigh the heart of her husband in scales and measure his soul with measurements. And let him who would lash the offender look unto the spirit of the offended. And if any of you would punish in the name of righteousness and lay the axe onto the evil tree, let him see to its roots. And verily he will find the roots of the good and the bad, the fruitful and the fruitless, all entwined together in the silent heart of the earth. So the only way out of this debacle is to begin to heal it. And the only way we can heal it is to bring this mighty compassion. What are the alternatives? Fragmentation, hate, sectarianism, identification with your party and all that positionality, and then throwing rocks at the other group. There's no way out that way. And it's you you're throwing rocks at. It's you you're hating. We just don't see it yet because our hearts haven't opened. And you who would understand justice, how shall you unless you look upon all deeds in the fullness of light? Only then shall you know that the erect and the fallen are but one man standing in twilight between the night of his pygmy self and the day of his God self. We're one man. Crazy, right? There's only one of us here. We are the human. Good and bad, rich and poor, perverted and righteous. There's only one of us here. And we're all that mixture. And that, the cornerstone of the people, is not higher than the lowest stone in its foundation. Right? So this was the life of the Christ. He went out to those that were lost and completely corrupted in their beliefs and attitudes and behavior. He had dinner with prostitutes without paying them for their services, mind you. So don't think that's okay. Oh, that's a good idea. I think I will. No, he just saw us. John Dominic Crossan, one of the great New Testament scholars, wrote a book, Jesus the Revolutionary, many years ago. And one of the things I remember from that book that really struck me was Crossan was looking at the social norms of the time of Jesus. And he says, when you would sit at table with your group, that was your self and your identity. So the Pharisees ate with the Pharisees, the Sadducees with the Sadducees, the Romans with the Romans, the aristocrats with the aristocrats, Jesus. Drunks, prostitutes, tax collectors who were despised. Everyone was welcomed at his table. He didn't turn anyone away. His table was his self. You do it to the least of these, you do it to me. It is me. I'm you. We're us. That's the Christ mind. Love your enemy. Forgive them, Father. They don't know they're the one man. And the only way to get to that is to go through your suffering. That's why going through it, you can know it. I've been running from it. I've been dressing it up. But when you'd finally just, and something will happen. Like one of the things I wanted to start off with as I was thinking about the service was be careful what you wish for, right? That was going to be my lead off for the talk tonight because I've been wanting this. I've been wanting to wake up with all my heart. And then it hits. And when it hits, it's like, F you, God. Why are you doing this to me? I was good. I was doing everything I could all these decades. And you just keep stripping me. So be careful what you wish for. But when you begin to realize that in that dark night, that is the promise of the new day dawning in you. You can't get to that until you turn and face your suffering, face your shadow. Go through it. So this is the teachings of the mystical Christianity of the Orthodox way, or the silent way, you could call it. So this is one of the great mystics, Ignatius Brianchaninov, and he says, he calls judgment a disease, and he says this disease acts against coming home to your heart. Right? It's a disease that acts against you coming home. He says this temptation is an infected assessment of the failings of others. And that's why he says you must, with your full intention and earnestness, focus yourself away from judging others, guarding yourself in humility and reverence for the divine. In order to weaken and root out this disease or infection within your heart, he says you must descend into yourself. And that's, like I had said, be careful what you wish for, because you will encounter the opportunity when you're ready. And it will come in a way you don't expect, or you haven't planned for, like me getting the call about the financial situations and such. Like, I didn't plan on that. And it comes in a way that it hits your sorest spot. That's been my sorest spot from when I was a young man. Never able to get enough. Never able to succeed. Everything that I've tried to do fails. It is the scariest part of my shadow. I'm not going to survive. I won't get through this. I want to die. That's what it'll feel like. Please, kill me. It's been my mantra for many days. Please just kill me. Please. I want to die. I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. When you get to that place and you're raw, then he can work with your heart. Then the miracles can show up. Who's with me? It'll happen. It's happening already. I mean, look, whether you're feeling it individually or not, unless you have your head in the ground, we are going to hell in a handbasket on a global stage. I remember studying the end time stuff and all the, prophecies of the apocalypse back 35 years ago, and getting the mapping of what it's going to look like when Antichrist comes and all that. And I remember thinking, they're going to be able to track everybody. This is 35 years ago. They're going to be able to track everybody and surveil everybody. They're going to have us all in a database. Come on. I just couldn't buy it. And we're here. And the other thing I couldn't buy, which was really like a hard swallow for me, was everybody's going to go along with it. That's what's crazy. Everybody's cheering it on. Rob us of our First Amendment. Take away our freedom of speech. We're all going along with it. That's crazy. So we have to see this. We have to understand, too, there's like this extraction economy that's been going on for a long, long time. And the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. And that's also going to allow the shadow to come up. Right? So in one way or another, we're going to all eventually reach that threshold point where the shadow's going to come up. If it hasn't for you yet, be forewarned by this service. And when it does come up, it's going to touch you in that pain point, your wound that you've felt for the longest time. And it's going to flood you. But know that you're going to go through it. That's the beauty of it. You'll make it out to the other side, but you have to go through what A Course in Miracles calls the circle of fear. This is where all the fear is, all the worry, all the anxiety, all the darkness, all the hatred, all the illusions. You're going to go through that dark forest. Right? This is what Joseph Campbell mapped, Carl Jung before him. This is the hero's journey, and we're all on it. And one of the shortcuts is what we're learning from the great masters of the Orthodox East. And this is what he says. He's mentioning this Saint Pimen the Great. And this is what Saint Pimen the Great says. We and our brothers are like two different pictures. If a person looking at himself sees his own failings, then in his brother he sees perfection. If he seems perfect to himself, then he will find all manner of failings in his brother. This is the words of a saint. And he's not a saint because he's special. He's a saint because he wrestled with his shadow and went through it. Another story. The greatest saints of God took special care to see themselves as sinners, right? The wounded. And don't get caught up in the language. It's the wound, the spiritual wound. So I'm just going to say it the way they say it, but here through the lingo. The greatest saints of God took special care to see themselves as sinners, and sinners so foul that the sins of others, either great or small, would seem to them forgivable and insignificant. Saint Sysios said to Abba Or, "Give me instruction." The saint says to him, "Do you trust me?" "I do." "Go and do as I do." "What do you do, Father?" The elder said, "I see myself as worse than all other people." This is a step, mind you. This isn't for you to now feel like there's nothing good in you. It's actually to realize where all of the evil you think you see in others is coming from. It's all in your mind as it's all in my mind. It's my shadow. It's your shadow. We're all a mixed bag. When we finally confront the shadow, we can then heal. And when we heal, we can see a world that can be healed. Before we do that, there's no way out of this hell. A couple more. A brother asked Abba Pimen, "How can I imagine that I am worse than a murderer?" Pimen answered, "If a person reaches the state indicated by the Apostle Paul and will see a person who committed murder, he will say, "That man killed once, but I murder myself every moment." What does he mean by that? You're the God self, remember? That's your deepest reality and true nature. And when we're judging and not seeing it, we're destroying it in our awareness. And we're doing that to ourselves. And remember, that's part of our denial. So then we feel that ickiness about ourselves, and we got to see a murderer. And the murderer is the icky one, not me. Right? That's the way of the pygmy. The way of the saint, the way of the illumined one, is to see it's all coming from me. I'm totally responsible. There's only one of us here, and I'm taking responsibility for that now. I want to see my brothers set free from their mind prisons. I don't want to hold them in their mind prison anymore. Finally here. The brother reported St. Pimen's words to another elder. The elder answered him, "If a person reaches such a state of purity and sees the sins of his brother, then his righteousness will make that sin disappear." In other words, when you go to the root of your own shadow and you illuminate and you realize the God self within your own heart, you become a healing force in the world. You hear stories of Sri Ramana Maharshi, Sri Nisargadatta, the great saints of the East here. People would come to them and just stand in their presence, and their sickness or sorrow would evaporate. Because there's only one of us here, and when the mind is ready, that transmission can come through that saint to heal and uplift and shine away when that mind is ready to drop it. But what made that saint so powerful in the healing presence is this taking account of his or her own shadow. And then last one. The brother asked again, "What is this righteousness that heals everyone?" And the elder replied, "Constant self-accusation. It's me. It's always me. Whatever I think I'm seeing out in the world, that's me." Now, remember what I said to you, and this has been going on until 3 o'clock, maybe let's say 3:15 this evening, this afternoon. I texted Lisa at one point, "I'm going to cancel service. I can't go up there like this. I can't speak from this place." I was completely destroyed. So believe me, I know when you're in it, it's the last thing you want to hear. It's all me. You know what I would have said at 2:45 if somebody said that to me today? It wouldn't have been nice. When you're ready, when you're broken, and when you realize the truth that he's just waiting. That's one of the things Lisa said to me today. He's just waiting for you to open to him, and he'll take it from you. And when I heard that, I was just like, "Blah, blah, blah." You just don't want to hear it. It doesn't feel real. It's bullshit. But just stay in that pressure cooker and know that the pain and the problems that are seemingly causing that pain can be the grace that you've been praying for. Final one here. So this is the teachings of the Mahayana Buddhist path. This is one of the famous books that you study, especially if you're in the Tibetan tradition. It's The Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. And as you probably know, the Bodhisattva is this illumined being, right? You're one step away from being a Buddha when you're a Bodhisattva. You're illuminated. Bodhi means illuminated. Sattva means being. So you're a light emanating being. right? And the mark of a bodhisattva is infinite compassion and infinite wisdom. They have come home in the heart of the bodhisattva, realized infinite wisdom, infinite compassion. And Shantideva literally wrote the manual. So if you go through your Tibetan training, you have to study this. All of the greatest masters of Tibet, if they were to carry around one book, it was this. This comes from the chapter 5, Vigilant Introspection, right? So when we just heard the elder from the Greek Orthodox tradition say, constant self-accusation, it's vigilant introspection, taking account for what you're projecting, taking account for what you feel, the pain, the suffering, the sorrow, and then looking to heal that. Shantideva says, those who wish to keep the trainings must with perfect self-possession guard their minds. Without this guard upon the mind, the trainings cannot be preserved. Squirrel, right? That's what we do. Wandering where it will, the elephant of mind will bring us down to torment in the hell of unrelenting pain. Well, I thought Buddhism was a peaceful and compassionate and enlightened religion. It is. But if your mind is untrained, it's like a wild elephant, and it will pull you into hellish states of mind. So you have to be vigilant and realize that it's only your mind you're living in. Everything you're experiencing right now is your consciousness. That's the beauty of Buddhism, yes? That's the beauty of all these introspective traditions. You're only experiencing your consciousness. And this consciousness is the consciousness of all beings. You're it. You're really it. And if your mind isn't trained, your mind becomes your worst enemy. If your mind is trained, it's your greatest friend. So be vigilant is the teaching here. No worldly beast, however wild and crazed, could bring upon us such calamities as an untrained mind. If with mindfulness's rope the elephant of mind is tethered all around, our fears will come to nothing. Every virtue will drop into our hands. Tigers, lions, elephants, and bears, snakes, and every hostile foe, those who guard the prisoners in hell, ghosts and ghouls, and every evil wraith. By simple binding of this mind alone, all these beings are likewise bound. That's how you see Jesus in the Gospels, yeah? Those demon-possessed souls will come to him, in rage and terror, and he would just say, leave them. His mind is trained. And he realizes that's just consciousness. And he's transmitting the healing power of a mind at home with itself. So darkness can't stay within his field. That's you also, your God self. He says, by simple taming of this mind alone, all these things are likewise tamed. For all anxiety and fear and pain and boundless quantity, their source and wellspring is the mind itself. This is what the Buddha has declared. So don't lose that one, because this is what we've been talking about all night. All anxiety, all fear, all pain in boundless quantity. The source of it all comes from the wellspring of your mind. That's why we meditate. We tame the mind. And keep in mind that all of that practice of meditating will prepare you for the tsunamis to come up, and you won't be swept away. Right? This is one of my little pet theories of, again, the end times when, if you read the book of Revelation in the New Testament and, all that stuff is hitting the fan and you have the one world government and the Antichrist and the false prophet and all this stuff is just evil manifesting, right? And then it says at the crescendo of the book of Revelation, God's Christ begins to dawn on the world. And the ones that were doing evil, they feel it as wrath. And they go and run and hide in the rocks, right? Those underground mansions that they're building in the cliffs and those deep ground bases, right? They know it's coming. Got to fulfill the book, as Bob Marley says. But when that same presence dawns, those that have made themselves ready, it's grace. Same presence, different mind. That's why we prepare ourselves, because we will have rooted out our darkness. It won't feel like God's wrath. It will feel like God's love and compassion taking us home. But if we are rooted in our ego and doubling and tripling down and defending what we've made as this separate self, it's going to rip us apart. Right? Because what we made isn't real. It's a house built on sand. So tend to your mind with mindfulness's rope. And one of the great ropes that we have at our immediate disposal is the breath. Right? So this is mindfulness's rope. So why don't we just sit, breathe, pay attention to the in and out breath, and digest. And allow this grace to begin to bubble up from below. if it feels right for you to bring your hands to your heart. And feeling the two polarities of your being, the light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, coming together at the heart and fully integrating. And from this deeper place of universal identity, universal compassion, and primordial wisdom, we recognize the one of us. Namaste, my friends. Blue bag will go around. If you're joining on Facebook, you can click that link to donate to the 5 p.m. service. Thank you very much. Blue bag's coming. If you have anything you want to say or share, please. And we bless the offering with the intention that whatever form of energy it may take may be used to bring this remembrance to all beings that they may be happy and free. And so it is. Amen. All right, let's seal the deal. Just feeling being here right now in this moment, no past, no future. And then again, touching into that felt experience of the heart, where the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is. Amen. Thank you for being here, everybody. Have a beautiful